There are 15 games on Friday. Every bloody team is playing in the NBA, so I'm sure there's going to be somebody on your team who's out, and then somebody on the waiver wire you can stream in. Let's take a look at who those guys might be. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and the horrors persist, but so do I. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free, and we are available on all platforms. Head across to LockedOnDaily.com as well, sign up, newsletter. We've got free giveaways. 3 people are going to be getting gift cards, either a $2,500 one from Best Buy. We've got a $300 Game Time voucher for tickets to events, and a $200 Fanatics gift card if you sign up before the end of April at LockedOnDaily.com. Double bang over here as well. We have got one more recap show that we're doing after Thursday's games. And then we will do one more streaming show for Sunday with 15 games on. So that means tomorrow, after the Thursday recap, there won't be a show. And that's, I'll have that day off and then have the day off after Sunday's games. But then we'll be back looking at stuff like NBA awards, over-under recaps that I did earlier in the season. We'll be doing sleeper and bust reviews. We'll get into team preview or team review stuff. We'll talk about league formats. We'll talk dynasty leagues. We'll do NBA draft redrafts. We'll do dynasty rookie draft sort of stuff. All those sort of things are coming. They are going to be happening and I'm going to be trying to just change the way that, not 100% the way we do it, but watch what I do in the off season, change some of the graphical presentation, change some of the formats of things we do, and try to provide the best information that I can at the current time. It is World Parkinson's Day on Friday, April the 11th. So, Parkinson's is an important disease that impacted me and my family a lot. And any sort of research and advances in the treatment of that disease are important to me. So that's why I wanted to bring that up as the awareness of it today. Let's talk about it. There are 15 games on. There is going to be absolute nonsense abounding everywhere. There are a bunch of teams who cannot move in the playoffs. We might as well just start by talking about that because that is a key part of what we're doing here. So, the Oklahoma City Thunder are locked in at number 1. They cannot move. The Houston Rockets are locked in at number 2. They cannot move. And in the West playoff picture, the 10 teams are in. There's nobody else that can push for play-in that is sorted. The play-in picture is sorted actually in both conferences. We know who the 10 teams are in either conference who are making the play-in. In terms of the lottery, we also know now that outside of the teams that are going to lose the play-in, we understand the 10 teams that are locked into the lottery. And we are in positions to sort of understand exactly where teams can move. Now, the biggest movement is going to be in the Western Conference because the Lakers are basically going to get the 3 seed. There's very little chance they don't. But then we go Clippers, Nuggets, Grizzlies, Warriors, Timberwolves. All of those guys are moving around between 3 and 8. And you don't want to be in 7 or 8. So if you've got a Clippers guy, a Nuggets guy, Grizzlies, Warriors, or Wolves, those are so between 4 and 8. Again, the Lakers are locked in. The Lakers cannot drop below 6, so the Lakers are not in a play-in zone. They are out of that. So Clippers, Nuggets, Grizzlies, Warriors, and Wolves, they are the teams that are going to have to go hard because they want to push either to get the 4 spot for home court or keep themselves out of 7 and 8 to make sure they're not in the play-in. And then you've got the other 2 teams, which is the Kings and the Mavericks. The Kings are basically locked in at 9, and the Mavs are locked in at 10. So if you finish, 9 and 10 are going to play each other. So it's going to be Kings, Mavericks, and it's going to be in Sacramento. That is basically locked in. And then the winner of that would end up playing the loser of 7 and 8, which, again, could be any of those other teams that I mentioned. In terms of the West and the tanking race, the one we've got to watch there is Washington and Utah are tied on 17 wins now. So Utah is going to keep trying to lose. If you are Utah, if you can't get that number 1 seed outright, you want to get equal with Washington because then you split your balls. Giggity. That's what happens. You don't they don't do tiebreakers for lottery ball odds. They just add the odds together and split them down the middle. But what you want to do is and the only tiebreaker they have is for floor value. So at the moment, Washington's in 1, Utah's in 2, meaning Utah can fall to 6 and Washington could fall to 5. So Utah is going to want to keep losing. The Pelicans are locked in at number 4. They can't move. They are 21 wins. The Hornets are 19 wins. The Pelicans do have 3 games left, but that doesn't matter because Charlotte's only got 2 games left, so that they can't catch them there. The Sixers are at 24 wins, so against the Pelicans could win all 3 of their games and get up to where Philadelphia is. That would seem very, very unlikely as a scenario. San Antonio is basically locked into their spot as well. The one that's going to be interesting is Phoenix and Portland, who are both on 35 wins. Now, Phoenix doesn't care. They don't have their pick. So Portland needs to make sure they lose so that they can keep themselves in the 9 spot instead of the 10 spot, because they could also fall down to 11, Portland, which I detailed on yesterday's show is a gigantic drop in their odds for top 4 or the first overall pick. And then Dallas or Sacramento, they're basically sitting in that 13-14 odds for the lottery. Not much is changing there. The ones you've got to watch in the West, Utah and Portland. They're the big ones in terms of, and Phoenix has nothing to play for at all. They're the only team who won't be in the play-in, the playoffs, or the lottery. What a terrible spot to be in. And so San Antonio is sort of locked in. If we look across, I know this is a long and winding part of the show, but I think it's important to understand team motivations. In the Eastern Conference, Cavs locked at 1. Celtics locked at 2. Knicks basically locked at 3. Almost impossible for them to move out of 3. Pacers basically locked at 4. So that is how that is going to go. Cavs, Celtics, Knicks, Pacers. It will take some very weird stuff for that to not be the case. Then you've got the Bucks and the Pistons in 5 and 6. And it probably will be Milwaukee and Detroit. Milwaukee is 2 games ahead of Detroit at this point. And they've both got 3 games left to play. So that they're pretty much, it would seem very unlikely that Detroit jumps ahead of Milwaukee. So you're going to have the Bucks in 5 and the Pistons in 6. They're going to still want to keep going, but those teams are locked. Nobody from there can move into the play-in. So it's not as desperate as in the Western Conference. And the only ones that really matter there is Milwaukee and Detroit, because that's the only one that can switch, where if Detroit wins out and Milwaukee loses out, Detroit can move up to 5. I don't think they can move it up. They can't move up to 4, so all they can do is switch with the Bucks. It's basically set, that top 6. The play-in teams, Orlando is locked at number 7. They cannot move from number 7, and that is key because they have listed all of their starters as questionable for Friday, which basically means they will not play. I don't know why they don't list them out, but listing them all as questionable the day that you lock in at number 7, and teams will often do this. Sit guys on the second last game of the season, bring them back for limited minutes on the last game of the season to get a little bit of preparation for the play-in game, rather than play them Friday and then you have no Saturday, sit them Sunday, no Monday, no Tuesday, no Wednesday. Then there's a long gap between the play-in. So I expect all of the Magic players to be out, all the starters to be out on Friday. They are locked in. Then you get to the other spots where it's basically the Heat are locked in at 10, not quite locked in, but close enough. The Bulls at 7, or Bulls at 9, and the Hawks at 8. There is an outside shot that if Atlanta loses today, which again is because Atlanta and Chicago are both on 37. So if Atlanta loses on Thursday, they'll still obviously both be at 37 and 43. But then we get to a situation where the Bulls could jump up to number 8. And that guarantees them 2 play-in games, which of course is exactly what they want. And one of those will be at home. But the Bulls almost certainly are not moving from 9 down to 10. So Miami will basically lock in at 10. And then the really only discussion here in the East is going to be what happens between Atlanta and Chicago. And if Atlanta wins on Thursday, that basically seals it, sort of. Well, close enough anyway. In terms of the tanking stuff, the Wizards are the team you need to watch. They are currently in the number 1 slot with 17 wins. They will not want to win a game. Charlotte is in the number 3 with 19 wins. Pretty much they can't move from there. That's just not happening. Philadelphia is at 5, and they got themselves to 5, which gives them the best chance of keeping that top 6 protected pick. They are locked in there. Brooklyn at number 6 is not moving, and Toronto at number 7 is also not moving. They can't really move from that spot. The other one will be Miami, who's currently in 11, but if they lose and Portland wins, and Phoenix wins, they can jump to 9 while still maintaining the number 10 seed in the play-in. So it might actually behoove them, because they're not moving up in the standings, Miami, to lose some games, because then that gives you better lottery odds. If you make the playoffs, great, you don't get a lottery pick. But if you don't, well, then you've got, instead of having the pick at number 11 with a 9% chance at top 4, if you move up to number 9, you get 17% chance at top 4. So if they lose both their games and Portland and Phoenix get some wins, Miami can actually improve their odds while still being in the play-in. That is key. Chicago and Atlanta, we don't worry about too much. They're sort of locked in where they are in the lottery. They would need to drop into that or drop out of the playoffs and that sort of stuff. But they're also at 37 wins, Atlanta. So even if they don't make the playoffs, every game they lose now, given again they are locked into where they are, in that they're not moving out of the play-in zone, every game that they lose now improves their odds. Because if they, at the moment, if Atlanta didn't make the playoffs, even though they're in the play-in, they wouldn't have the 14 or 13 seed, because their record is worse than Sacramento and worse than Dallas. So while those teams are maneuvering for home court, or the 7 and 8 versus the 9, not 7 and 8, 8 and 9, which is Atlanta versus Chicago, losing games for Miami is incredibly important, because it moves their odds better if they don't make the playoffs. And then if, say, Atlanta wins the game on Thursday, that would make it hard for Chicago to push into number 8. Now, if it was any other team, they would then try to lose the games, improve their lottery odds while staying at number 9. So I hope all of that is clear, just to understand what teams' motivations may or may not be. So Washington has to lose. Miami and Chicago and Atlanta is the weird stuff there. And then maybe Milwaukee and Detroit in terms of switching over in that Eastern Conference playoff mix. But the playoffs, the top 6 is locked. The play-in is locked. You just need to work out the positions. And then in the ones that are going to be the interesting ones are 4 to 8 in the Western Conference. And then the jockeying for number 1 between Washington and Utah, and the jockeying for number 9 between Phoenix/Houston, Portland, Miami, and maybe Chicago, Atlanta. That's realistically the things that can change around at this point. I hope that is useful enough to get those motivations of teams in your mind. We're going to come back and talk points league streaming and category league streaming as well. Today's episode, it is brought to you by DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready, because if they swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It is simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, Dash, and you got 2 more days of that left. Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. So many ways that you can do this. You can get in there with a nice lunch, a nice healthy lunch, or maybe you want to load up on wings for when all the boys come around. Get some pizzas in there, get some burritos, get some nachos for a big party, a watch party maybe. To watch Orlando trot out Goga Badadze as their starting center. Who knows? Maybe you're a big dart fan. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders of participating merchants. You must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. I'm not going to go over key injury statuses because so much of that is going to change as the day progresses. So let's just go straight into talking about where we can look at some streaming options for points leagues with the way that things currently sit. I'll put the points league Yahoo streaming names up on the screen first, but I will just go through some things that are important. Pirtle has been ruled out, Quickly has been ruled out, Barrett has been ruled out, Walter has been ruled out for Toronto. No word on Barnes, but that on-off streaming thing, which is something we talked about when I saw all those guys maybe listed as available for the last home game, that they would just sit out the rest of the season. I think that is what is happening for those Raptors guys. So I don't think that Pirtle, Quickly, or Barrett are playing again. I think Barnes is going to be really limited rest of season. In terms of the Cavs, they've said for the second time that they're going to limit Jarrett Allen's minutes the rest of the season. They said that last time he played 34 minutes, so we'll see exactly what that means as we move forward. Obviously, we know the Knicks are resting guys on Thursday, but I would expect that those guys play on Friday. But I would also expect that Brunson and Towns don't play on Friday. But I also don't know that. Giannis is listed questionable with an illness, so are they just confident they're going to be able to win and get the 5 seed anyway? I guess they are. And then Cade Cunningham and Tobias Harris are both playing or probable to play on Thursday, and I expect they play Friday, but they also may not. And like I said with the Magic, Banchero, Caldwell Pope, Wendell Carter, Corey Joseph, and Franz Wagner are all listed as questionable, which is basically them saying they're out. They lock in the number 7. They cannot move from number 7. They will play all on Sunday, and they will all sit on Friday. So every one of my projections is going to be based on the fact of that. So that means Goga will start. I would expect that Tristan Da Silva will start. I think Caleb Houston will start. I think Jet Howard will play a lot. I think Mr. Black will play quite a bit in that one as well. I think you might get Yas Queen getting some minutes in that game also. So pay attention there. For the Celtics, Jaylen Brown, who was the last guy to be ruled out for the Celtics in their last one, is the first one to be ruled out here. And Drew, Horford, Porzingis, Tatum, and White are not on the injury report, so they look like they'll play. Interestingly, in Charlotte, originally they said Mark Williams was out and Miles Bridges would play, and now they've done a complete switcheroo. And Miles Bridges is out for Friday, and Mark Williams is in. So I don't really know what that means, but what I do know it means is that means there is another opportunity for Tijan Salan to let us all down. Like Cleveland and New York, like I said, they're resting a bunch of guys on Thursday. The Cavs should get those guys back on Friday, and Allen's not going to sit, but watch for Brunson and Towns to be out. The Bulls, Lonzo remains out. He will remain out all the way through. I'm guessing Jordan Poole is out for the Wizards. Chris Middleton is out. These guys are just not playing again. They need to preserve that number 1 slot. In Miami, nothing really major there. And then the other one we get to is in New Orleans, where Messi, Olynyk, Hawkins, Brown, and Alvarado have all been ruled out on Thursday, and I wouldn't be shocked if they just don't play again for the rest of the season. In Dallas, Klay Thompson and Spencer Dinwiddie are listed questionable. Very interesting. Very interesting. They also signed Brandon Williams, so he will play pretty good minutes, I'm pretty sure, in these final 2 games. In Denver, we haven't got the official report there. I do not believe that Jamal Murray will play. So there's that one. And if the Nets, Russell, Sharp, Cam Johnson, almost certain those guys aren't going to play the rest of the season. The Thunder, last game they rested Shea and Hartenstein and Dort. I think that Chet, Joe, Wiggins, Jalen Williams, the Bronco, and Caruso are all likely to sit against the Jazz. There's no reason for them to play. I don't think they will play, but I don't know. I don't think Walker Kessler plays for the Jazz. I think the Clippers are going to be going hard at this still. I think Keegan Murray's a chance to come back for the Kings. I don't think that Avdia, Grant, Scoot, or Simons are going to play for the Blazers. I just think that would be silly that they did. In Phoenix, I think that there is a chance that Booker and Beal in particular do not play. And I'm certain Durant won't play. And I think all the Rockets guys that rested will play, and they might sit on Sunday would be my guess. So now all of that table is set. I know that's a long way to get to it. Let's talk about streaming for Yahoo points. I am putting John Mobo here. He had a triple-double last game. He played 38 minutes. Because the other thing is, and I don't know, this might change, they waived Orlando Robinson. Okay? There's no Pirtle. Chris Boucher, they said before the last game, it would be unfair to play him after sitting him for so many games. So their center depth is 6'8" Jonathan Mobo. There's nobody else. Now, maybe they go and re-sign Robinson. I don't know why they would waive him and re-sign him or what they do with that roster spot, but there is nobody else there. They are going to have to... Maybe they do play Boucher. I don't think they are. So just watch that space, because at the moment, it is only Mobo. I put Bob Carrington there. There's no Jordan Poole. I'm going to put Tristan Vukcevic there. There's just too many guys out there, and even in 23 minutes, it's probably enough, but obviously it's always risky. I've got Delano Banton on the Yahoo point streaming list because I do expect all those Blazers to be out because they need to lose. They need to lose. Kevin Huerter is on that list. The Bulls will probably be playing him a lot of minutes. And then this one, again, is very dependent on what the Thunder do. But I think Pig Williams, tall Jalen Williams, has a real shot at big minutes. I don't think that Chet Holmgren's going to play. Maybe Hartenstein does or doesn't. I don't know. But I think Jalen Williams will be able to do a lot more, especially with the other Jalen Williams also expected by me to not play, which gives opportunities for the big Jalen Williams to play the 4 and the 5. For ESPN points leagues, we are still going to John Mobo, who, again, is probably going to play 40 minutes or so. Bub Carrington. I've got Keon Ellis there because Malik Monk is out, so Ellis should play 35-plus minutes nearly every night and be useful, and his value in ESPN points is higher than Yahoo. I've got Tristan Vukcevic, I've got Kevin Huerter, and then the last name I've got on there is Jalen Pickett. Because he is, at this moment, and this is an outrageous thing to say, that is actually 100% true. He is better than Russell Westbrook. That is exactly what David Adelman thinks. That is what the play suggests. Jamal Murray is almost certainly not playing. So Pickett will start and Westbrook will get 17 minutes or so, like the last game. The big question is going to be is that when Murray plays, does Westbrook get DMP'd? Because he is dreadful at the moment. This is like Russ on the Lakers bad, how bad he's been these last 2-3 weeks. It is horrendous how bad he is. And Pickett is better, which is an amazing thing to say. But I like the opportunity to use Jalen Pickett there. Again, I understand how crazy that sounds. We've got category league streaming we're going to get to as well. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by Game Time. Getting to a live game, it's awesome, man. You can catch a live last-minute Major League Baseball game. Maybe it's an NBA matchup or getting into the playoffs, or maybe it's the NHL as they head towards their playoffs as well. Finding great seats at a great price, well, that used to be a challenge, but now it's not because Game Time is here. Game Time makes scoring those last-minute tickets easier than ever. Prices actually drop the closer you get to Game Time, and they're all in pricing. You see the total cost up front, no surprises at checkout. Those last-minute deals are the real key, the real killer here on Game Time, because you might be sitting there going, maybe, and then you see an alert come up on your phone or you go browse it, and because they want people in the seats, yeah? And the closer you get to Game Time, the more they're going, is anyone going to be sitting in this seat? So the prices drop. That makes logical sense. If the demand isn't there, we want to drop the prices to get people in to go watch these events. So you can save up to 60% off by buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, and theatre. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, the code is LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Okay, we're going to get in now and finish off the streaming options for category leagues, going through all 8 of the categories with a lot of the names being similar. Understanding, again, just pay attention to who is in or out or what random guys get. The one to watch is, does Toronto sign a center? That is really key to watch. Does Toronto sign a center? Because they don't have a center on their roster at the moment, apart from Boucher and Mobo, who, again, Boucher they don't want to play, and Mobo 6'8". Maybe not even that tall. So, who is streaming in for points? Yes, it's risky to stream in Tristan Vukcevic, I know that. But I do think that he's got the ability to pop off with good usage and good efficiency. Same with Bub Carrington. It is risky, but he honestly could play 40 minutes again in this game. There is a lot of players out there, and say, for example, the guy that played 30 minutes in the last game, Jalen Martin, he can't play anymore. His two-way contract is done. Unless they convert his contract, which I don't believe they've currently got the roster spots to do, he can't play anymore. So there's more minutes available there. Delano Banton working under the assumption that the Blazers want to lose. And all those guys are going to be out, which I think is fair. Banton might shoot 20%, but he might take 25 shots. And that or you might have one of those random games where he goes 8 of 10 and has 30 points, 7 assists, 4 blocks. And you go, this guy's the greatest ever. And I say, yeah, he's not. And then he's bad the next one. But this is a good opportunity. We are doing it, again, because the man is putting up numbers. But, it's happening. The pencil, Harrison Barnes. Barnesy! Game-winning shot legend, 20 points a game. He is playing all the way through to get to 82 games. Same with Chris Paul. Will he be good every game? That's tough, but it is a nice little run here from Barnes. I'm going to go with Ty Jerome there, who does require probably someone to be out to give us that good value. And Cleveland's sitting the guys on Thursday, so I'm not sure if there'll be or he might even sit on Friday. That's possible, so that is risky. And then Lonnie Walker, if there's one thing the man does, it's he tries to score. He doesn't do anything else, but he tries to score. So you might get 20 points out of him. Remembering, Jeff Doughton scored 30 points in the last game, but he can't play both games. He can only play Friday and Sunday. Although, I will say this. Colin Castleton is on a 10-day contract for the Sixers. His 10-day contract ends after Friday's game. So it is possible that Doughton plays on Friday, has his 2-way contract end, Castleton's 10-day expires, Doughton's contract is converted to a full-time contract for the final day, and Doughton plays both games. That is a possibility. It is not a guarantee, but it is a possibility because Castleton's will just expire after Friday. Now, they can also sign Castleton, I believe, to a second 10-day, but whatever. His might be done, Collins, after Friday, meaning that maybe Doughton plays Friday, converted Saturday, plays Sunday. Possible. Don't hold me to that. That's what they're going to do because I don't know that. By the way, those asking about Elfrid Payton, Payton's 10-day expires, his second 10-day expires after Friday. They can, like I just said with Doughton, they could just sign him in that roster spot to a rest of season contract, which is obviously just 1 day. Whether they do that or not, or they let it slide, I don't know. But his 10-day expires after Friday, so he would need a new contract to play on Sunday. For three-pointers, we're again requiring opportunities for guys to be in or out, and there's some absolutely terrible overall player names here. But Sam Hauser, Johnny Juzang, Jamison Battle, Bub Carrington, Vanderpants, Kevin Huerter, and Sam Merrill are all here. Now, I think that Huerter is obviously the safest guy here, but Juzang can easily play 30 and should battle with all those guys out, probably plays 27 minutes, and literally all he does is take threes. If the Cavs do rest even more players, Merrill might play 29 minutes. Now, he is very risky. So is Hauser, but that is all they do. They can all hit 6 threes. The safest ones are Huerter and probably Juzang, followed by Battle, Carrington, Hauser, Merrill. But there's some interesting names there that can always get good threes off the wire. And again, the theme continues of being able to get good assists off the wire. And we go to Jalen Pickett in Denver. I am working under the assumption that Jamal Murray is out. And even if Murray is in, I think that Pickett will play anyway. That's not as safe as going with Davion Mitchell, who is just... the turnaround in this guy's game has been ridiculous. I did not think he could be anywhere near this good, and he has been. The next one is Alfred Payton, who could get 10 assists. I don't think that Alvarado is going to play out the string here, and this could be the last time we see Payton. Jared Butler, pretty strong option. Even last game with Doughton going off, he was pretty good. It hurts that Doughton is going off because it does limit Butler's upside, but I'd like him here. Then you go to AJ Johnson, where I saw a ridiculous comment on one of those. I don't know why. I don't even know why I ever open Facebook these days. Sorry to Mark Zuckerberg. I'm sure he cares. It is just horrendous. But for some reason, ages ago, when I was actually trying to promote this show a lot through Facebook, when Facebook used to be something that was good, I signed and I followed a lot of those like team blog fan pages to get the pulse of people, and sometimes try to promote my work in those pages. But they are the most biased, insane things I have ever seen on some of those pages. I'm talking about AJ Johnson. I'm talking about one of those Wizards pages, and it goes, I can't believe how badly the headline was a picture of AJ Johnson. It's like the Wizards once again fleeced, trading away Kyle Kuzma for a future superstar at AJ Johnson. Like, bro, what are you talking about? A future superstar? Have you... what? I mean, come on. He's had a couple of flashes, but let's settle down here. Anyway, AJ Johnson might be a stream for assists because he is getting minutes. But yeah, this future superstar, I might just simmer on that a little bit. The next one is Jamal Shed, who rested the last game for the Raptors, and I'm pretty sure he'll be available in this one. And he should get 30 minutes and should get 6 assists. There's also an abundance of steals available on the waiver wire, and I think we're going to get 30 minutes out of the painter Matisse Thybulle, so that's 5 steal upside. We go to the Vulture, Reese Beekman, who's also a really good assist guy in Brooklyn. I don't think that D'Angelo Russell is returning, so let's go with Beekman. We've got Davion Mitchell, Chris Dunn, very, very easy, obvious steal streaming options. John Mobo is a very good steals guy. He's also apparently an assist guy and a rebound guy and a block guy and an everything guy. And the last name is available absolutely everywhere. It's Colby Jones. Now, he could play 0 minutes, but I think that with everyone out, and I'd also, by the way, after the Wizards edged us about a return for Sadiq Bey, that's not happening, I'm very certain. Jones probably plays 30 minutes here, especially with Jalen Martin done for the year in terms of contract days. Free throw percentage, we go to Ty Jerome. There's Bryce Sensabaugh, Jared Butler, Nick Smith, Mike Conley, and Tim Hardaway Jr. And we go to the big men. Also remembering with all of this, you may not have an open stream slot. There are 15 games on. You might not have one, but you also might have a bunch of guys that you can drop, like the Raptors players. Or you might drop Bradley Beal, or you might hear that Devin Booker needs to be dropped, or whatever it is. So things might open up for you. For rebounds, it has to be Mobo. The next one is risky. It's Jalen Williams, big Jalen Williams, because I don't know what they're going to do with their rest profile. You have to wait and see on that. I'm going to take Oscar Tshiebwe because I do not believe that Walker Kessler is going to play for Utah. Justin Champagnie in Washington, Bobby Portis in Milwaukee, and then with my understanding that the Magic will sit all their guys, I think Goga Bitadze is going to start, and he could put up some really, really strong big man numbers. For the blocks category, this is what Peyton Watson is born for. It's what he's built for. You can get 3 blocks out of him and not much in Denver. Not much else. I've got Goga Bitadze there. I've got Carlo Makovic. Derek Lively, even though he's only playing 16 or 17 minutes. If Daniel Gafford's there, just sub his name into that spot. Justin Champagnie does have 3 block upside, and I think his role finally is actually secure. And then we go to Pig Williams as well in Oklahoma City. And to finish it off, we go to field goal percentage. Luke Cornett, even though those players are all available for Boston outside of Jaylen Brown, I think Cornett can still get 20 minutes because I don't think they'll be playing super hard in terms of the minutes of those guys. I've got Bitadze, Jackson Hayes, also Iguodaro for Phoenix, Derek Lively, and my man, Carlo Makovic. And that is a weird, wacky, wild, wonderful streaming show for Friday with 15 games on. We've got one more day after that. It's Sunday with 15 games on, and then we'll try and figure out who's in and who's out, and it's going to be a disaster. I know that, but hopefully you're able to get some information out of this and understand that you should never be playing any head-to-head league that plays in this week. Roto, very different story. Hit the sub on the video, subscribe on the audio, give the thumbs, leave your comments. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.